No gifts this year. When I woke up this morning, I found the house to be empty. It was strange. I seriously doubt that my family would leave for my aunt's house without me, not on Christmas morning. Something wasn't right. All the miscellaneously placed photos of me that were on the walls and the hearth were gone. All other photos were still in their place. Another thing that struck me as odd was that there were no gifts that just last night were meticulously put under the tree were gone this morning. What the hell? I thought to myself. Everything is gone, even the shit I left for my parents. Just then I heard a low, guttural growl that made me practically jump out of my skin. I quickly turned my head to see my dog baring her teeth. She was in a semi-defensive position. She stared at me with a terrified eye as she growled. I took a step forward to her and she ran back into the other room as fast as she could. She did leave a nice piss stain on the carpet though. Shit, I muttered. Something definitely isn't right. I walked through the house and everything was a mess. Tables and chairs were turned over, lamps were smashed, it looked like a tornado went through the place. I felt like shit. I guess a good analogy would be that I felt like the house looked. I felt as if a cement truck had punched me in the face. I went upstairs to go to the bathroom and wash myself. The smell of cigarette smoke and cheap booze filled the air. I wondered what was going on. In the bathroom I looked in the mirror and I must say, I looked like a picture of the living dead. I was as white as freaking sour cream. My pupils were dilated to the size that I knew was not natural. It was almost as if my eyes themselves looked black. Quite disconcerted, I walked through the house at a slow pace, taking my time. I noticed my father's black suit and tie were missing. That shouldn't be anything disturbing to me, but for some reason, I couldn't shake the bad feeling that was coming deep within my gut. As I walked downstairs, I looked out the window and I noticed that Dad's black Cadillac was missing from the driveway. So was my mom's Chrysler 300. I was pissed that they just left me alone like this. Whatever. It's only like 3 miles to my aunt's house. I put on my jacket and walked out the door quietly, careful not to scare my dog more than she already was. It was a cold day, but that's to be expected in late December on Capitol Hill, Boston, Massachusetts. There was a mass of people congregated around the junction around 3 blocks away from my house. I couldn't make out any details, but I could see the outline of a black car. It had hit the side of a 2-family house. The front half of the car was in their damn living room. I had a natural aversion to things like that, so despite being worried about the driver and potential passengers, I just kept on moving. Nothing else seemed out of the ordinary on my walk. Just your typical Bostonian good morning, which was a bump on the shoulder and several established cusses. I arrived at my aunt's house a couple hours after setting off. Yeah, I took my time. Looking in the window, I could see several family members, nuclear family included, huddled around the table. I was mad as hell, but then I took a good, hard look at everyone inside. All of them had a somber look on their face for such a joyous holiday. Each person had on a black suit or a black dress. Then my anger had faded as I quietly walked through the door, as opposed to bursting through, which I wanted to do at first. As soon as my foot crossed the threshold, a bright light enveloped me. I felt like I was drowning in light, and then everything just went dark. When I came to, I walked out of my room. There was still nothing under the tree, both cars were still gone, and I was more confused than when I originally had woken up this morning. There was no way my parents would have brought me home and left me just to go back to my aunt's house, so I decided to walk back. Once again, I put on my jacket and I left the house. I remembered that about 3 blocks away there was an accident. I figured I wouldn't be a pussy this time and I would stop to check it out. The crowd was gone and there was only 2 squad cars, one of which was on the corner. The other was right next to the crashed car. I walked right up to the car and was disturbed by the fact that the cop, eating a donut and reading the Boston Globe, didn't even take notice of my presence, despite the fact that I walked right up to them. I dreaded looking inside the car. I hesitated for a couple of seconds. I wasn't going to let myself just walk away, even though I felt like I was going to throw up. I bent over and was horrified to see a bloody pulp of a man that looked just like me pinned into the seat by the dashboard. The blood continued to roll down his forehead. His hands still clutched the steering wheel, white-knuckled. A look of horror spread across his face. Rigor mortis was a beautiful thing. In the distance, I saw an ambulance cruising towards with lights and flashing, speakers occasionally letting out a beep or two. In a state of disbelief, I rushed to the back of the car only to be greeted by the Cadillac insignia. I rushed to the squad car, yelling at the cop, hoping to get a response. None came. I ran to a nearby driveway and started picking up pebbles to throw at the cop's window. He suddenly sat up alert and his head my direction, but with a quizzical look on his face. He turned his head away as if he didn't even see me and went back to his donuts and paper. I ran as fast as I could, but I only got a few feet when I tripped on something. I hit the ground and I laid there, and there was the bright light, exactly like the one before. It came over me all over again. It all came back to me in a flash, pulling out of the driveway, running through the red light, worried I was going to be late, getting T-boned by a damn Kia, shielding my face with my hands as the glass shattered, desperately trying to gain control of my car, going through the wall of a two-family, getting pinned to my seat by the dashboard, finally choking up my own blood as it filled up my lungs. When I woke up that afternoon, I found my house to be empty. It was strange. I seriously doubt that my family would leave me asleep while they went to my aunt's house, especially on Christmas Day. Something wasn't right. All the meticulously placed pictures of me that were on the walls and the hearth were gone. All the other photos were still in place. Another thing that struck me as odd was the fact that there were no gifts that, just the night before, were meticulously put under the tree. Were gone.